as a young actor, you're dying to work, and you're never working. I would have a year and a half with nothing. It was awful. And when I worked, I thought I was awful. This is not it. This is not it. And somehow I learned that it was going to be a quarter turn of the screw that did it. That made it, oh, it's not far away. It's like right over there. But it would be hell. And I was talking to a cousin of mine who said, I talk to you when you're working and I talk to you when you're not working. And both times you're terribly unhappy. You should choose one time to be happy. I thought, it's a good point. I'll do it when I'm working then.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Peter Friedman is an actor. He sat down with me, following strict safety precautions, on a bench in Central Park in New York City to talk about the work.
I know this differs depending on the size of the role and the type of role and if it's stage or film. I know all that matters, but is there a typical first step that you take when you've landed a role to begin to wrap your arms around how to play it?
I usually do a fair amount of research about whatever is being discussed or viewing or visiting. When I was younger, if you played a lawyer, you found somebody who was a lawyer, and you say, "Can I come over?" And you go, "Yeah, it's everything I thought was going to be here. So I really didn't need to come. Except, what's that baby toy over on your desk? Oh, my wife visited with the." You go, that I wouldn't have thought. Amongst all these papers, a little bright blue, bird or something.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. That's what you get from when you visit.
Yeah.
The stuff that you wouldn't know.
How do you apply then that little toy? You know what I mean? Like, this is something I still don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, so that told you something. It gave you a clue into the mystery of whatever this person is, or playing this person that you would never have normally have. But what do you do with that?
I guess you go, oh, lawyer is second. And he carries it. He carries his life as you would into your workplace,
Yeah.
Those kinds of little clues.
But how is that playable, is basically what I'm saying.
I see.
How is that playable? How does that tangibly change your work?
I can't tell you.
That's probably why you're a good actor.
I can't. It's just you just have it. I don't know. Doing research for a Simon Gray play about Cambridge students. So I went over and spent a few days in Cambridge, and the guy was playing was a philosophy teacher, and so I went to they call it the Moral Science Club, and there's Robert, 18-year-old Robert, and he's leading the discussion because he's the president of the moral, and he's got his leg insouciantly crossed over one, and there's no elastic at the top of his socks. And they're just like, gotta have it, right?
Yeah.
He's so smart. He doesn't care about what the fuck he puts on.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. They're just little things that you wouldn't have thought of, But I don't know how it makes it playable. I'm sorry, it's just stuff that adds to the picture that makes you feel a little bit more, a little closer to the subject. Yeah. I guess it gives you confidence, confidence more than anything else.
The courage to feel like you can play it.
I would say yes, unless you're saying to push for something. No, you can step back from it because it's all a part of you. It's all around you. You don't have to work so hard because there are these little details that are helping you tell the story, hopefully.
Tell me how you came into this whole endeavor to begin with.
I always performed as a kid, little plays in the house and all that stuff. It didn't seem like a jump at all. It seemed like this is where I was going. That's the end of the story.
And did you go and get yourself training?
After I got out of college, where I was a psych major at Hofstra University, but spent all my time doing drama stuff, I worked for a few years, And I realized that I did not like how I acted. I sort of felt I was bad. So I took myself out and found an acting class. And I was doing that for about 2.5, 3 years, something like that.
So the idea of wanting to improve,
Yeah.
so it wasn't just like a hobby or something. Like you
No, there was a day I was carrying groceries up to my Hell's Kitchen apartment, and I stopped on the stairs and I went, and the bottom fell out. I went, I stink. No, it was momentous for me.
But what made you want to improve so badly? Like someone else might just give up, be like, I stink.
Wow, I hadn't thought of that. It just seemed like the only way to go. Like I should probably get help. And so I did.
And how did that help, though? I mean, like, did it really make you realize what your bad habits were, or something, or did it just give you the tools?
It did give me tools and a whole lot more. First of all, the idea that you're not right for every role, that never occurred to me. You're supposed to play anything. Play. Well, this is being 25 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, well, that's right. There's some roles I might not be suited for, and it never occurred to me. Great thing to
Right.
So it almost, well, you know, we know that our only tool of control sometimes is to say no. And we're told you can't say no, especially when we're young. You've got to just do to get on the map. But what if you're doing in the wrong thing? You won't get on the map that way, I wouldn't think, but who knows, you know?
Were you starting to think about what your type was back then?
No. Anything I felt, once I got the idea that you go up for the stuff that you have an impulse for, a response to. Same with material. You read a play, you go, 12th night, I don't fucking get it. I'm staying away from it. I got nothing for this play, which is done probably more than any other in the world.
Yeah.
You know, there's always, or there's probably one going on right now.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get why we're laughing at Malvolio. I don't get what's so funny about Fest. I don't get it. Fuck it. So you're allowed to not respond to material you don't respond to. I've gotten a little in trouble. There have been a couple of times when I've read things that go, I don't get it. And, you know, it becomes the biggest hit of the theatrical season. Okay, so you're wrong in 50 years, once or twice.
Yeah.
I'll put up with it.
I mean, even if you did get it, though, you might not have been right for it either,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I did have somebody, though, tell a story of not getting it, going for an audition. He got the role. He pleaded with them, saying, I don't get this. It was John Christopher Jones. Do you know him?
Yeah.
He said, it was Tony Kirshner's play. It was a weird Tony Kirshner play. And they said, no, you're going to do it. You're great. He said, no. And he called his agent to get him out of it.
Wow.
And then he did it, and he did it confusingly, and eventually, after many, many weeks, it sort of started to make sense, but not really fully. People were loving it.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that.
It just seems like a terrible time, doesn't it?
Yeah. We call them fire door nights when you really are hideous and you can't go through you can't leave the regular way. You have to find an extra door. I don't know how he got through that.
Fire door, that's great.
Get me out of here.
Take me to the Muppets.
The Muppets. Wasn't that fun?
I was shocked to find this.
Yes, and here's the cool thing. Here's the collateral that I get. At the Museum of Moving Image, they've got a Jim Henson exhibit.
Yes.
And there's a tape that Jim Henson brought on The Tonight Show to publicize the Muppet Show. And it was of us with the camera pulled back to show how we did Rag Mop. And it's my voice that is the vocal. Oh. So I'm in a museum, man.
That's awesome.
With a mop.
Oh.
at 27 or something like that.
So how did you get to that? Like how? Like
Exactly.
Isn't that a whole other skill set? What is that?
I always did. I'm right now. I'm in quarantine. One of my little art projects is my only art project is making a miniature version of my childhood hand puppet stage, which I had hanging as displays in our bedroom till January, when we moved to much smaller space. So it was time to take this 60-year-old cardboard edifice and throw it away. But I took pictures of it all, and I'm going to make it a miniature. So I've always done puppets and marionettes when I was a kid, always did. Loved that stuff. And when I was in the New Phoenix Rep Company with Marilyn Sokol, that first year, she said, you should, we would play with voices, and then she said, you should try out for Jim. And she told me that she had done some work with Jim and Frank and Frank Oz.
Yeah.
And she gave me the number to call, and they were just having auditions to do a 1-week workshop to get a whole bunch of new people in their stable, because they had a Broadway show they were planning. They were starting that SNL thing for the first season of that. And they had a bunch of other projects they were thinking of. And I auditioned with Jim and Frank in their offices on 67th. And Frank is so quick. They put a puppet on your hand, and you're improvising with Frank, and I am not an improviser. But they wanted a down east accent, and I'm thinking so slowly. At one point I said, hold it, as the character, and we're waiting a couple of seconds, and Frank says, I'm still holding. They're very adorable. Anyway, I got into that, and then extended. They did it week after week for a while, through the summer, I think. And it was the same summer that I started this acting class. And they were 2 different disciplines, and I don't know if I got reamed out, but I got lectured to. Because what we're doing in the Muppets is being clever, and what we're doing in the acting class is being truthful. And I crossed over the line in class, and I got,
So you're saying it went that way, like the Muppet muscle was overpowering the other muscle rather than the other way around.
Well, it was the other muscle. Other muscle is so subtle and deeper.
Right.
I had just started both of those things, and I hadn't developed the deeper muscle yet, to go low, to go quiet.
Yeah. So what did you do when you got reamed out? Did you stop?
I got the idea.
Yeah.
I kept my witticisms to myself and went truthful.
Yeah.
It made sense to me, and that was okay.
Is there anything though that you learned from that muscle, from the Muppets, that you still apply to the other subtle acting?
I can't. I'm not witty. I'm not articulate. And I can't
no,
improvise.
Negative knowledge.
Yeah. Stay away. Want to be in an improv class? No.
Right. Wait, but we have to skip ahead now though, because I heard that there's improvisation on Succession.
Yes, there is.
Does that scare you when, like, if they want to start a scene with some improvisation, do you panic?
Yes, it scares me, but I do it. I'm not asked so much. It was in the pilot. I think Adam McKay, who directed the pilot, there was one scene where he wanted me to ad-lib something as I'm addressing. It's Jeremy and his work guys, and Dad is at home. Jeremy's in charge, he feels. It's when the succession was going to happen, was going to be passing over to him, he thinks. And Brian drops in.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to say something when I see him that was not written. So I said, who ordered the pizza? Stuff like that. And I was having a good time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't financial jargon.
Yeah.
Jeremy can do, having been in The Big Short. He studies deeply, and he could, talk about amortization, and not me.
Yeah.
That scares the hell out of me.
Right. And just to have that, I mean, because if he's immersed in that, then he has it at the ready.
That's right.
And does that keep happening though on that show? Like do they want it? Because Brian was talking about how they start scenes kind of. They want to get into scenes improvisationally and then kind of get into the script then. Does this put you at like oh no, please guys, let's not do
if we need help, if some of us who are not versed, and first of all, I haven't been asked that. I'm on the periphery of the tapestry, right? But if I had to, I would absolutely ask one of the guys around, saying, "Give me something."
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And and in my character's case, it would probably be something with jargon in it, and I would need something truthful.
Yeah. So okay, are you just thinking at that time as a young man just totally about just the stage? Like there wasn't an idea of like
film
television?
Terrifies me. Film and television terrifies me. I think when I was doing Brooklyn Bridge in the early 90s, and I went to work every day, that fear went away, because you're part of the group making that shoe every day, and I clock in and you do your stuff. And I'm not saying unimaginative. I'm saying that I love doing it and I love thinking about it, but I lost my fear because we're all working on this together. The cameraman is now a friend, not somebody I have to prove something to.
You like being
we're all
part
together.
of a company. Yeah.
Exactly. The most frightening thing for me is coming in for one day on a film. Do not ask me to do that.
And they're already a well-oiled machine. You're coming in.
Oh, I hate that. I hate it. It's awful.
Yeah.
New kid. No.
Yeah, that's new. That really is new kid.
Don't want to do it.
Yeah. New kid.
No fun. No fun at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was all about stage.
But there must have been tons of times when you were doing that, coming in, just playing the doctor.
That's right. The clipboard with the clipboard with a doctor, we called him. My friend Craig called. Yeah.
Giving out the diagnosis.
Meryl Streep the bad news. Yeah.
How do you deal with that though? Because there's going to be a lot of people listening that are the doctor or an equivalent of that, that are feeling the same new kid thing. How do you get over it? Do you introduce yourself to everyone? Do you start, or do you just act like you've been there?
Oh no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to think about it. It was awful. It's awful. Yeah. If it happened tomorrow, it would be awful. Wow. I might say no.
Wow.
In fact, I did say no something a couple of months ago. Something that's going to be a very high-profile film, but it was a one-day thing, and I thought, my stomach's going to drop out. I don't want to do that to myself at this age.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah. And it's great. You don't have to. This is what's great now. You can say no.
I don't know. I mean, it'd be a good idea to do it, but at first I felt I'm not the right guy. I did, thank God.
Yeah.
If I felt like I was the right guy, I probably would have done it.
Yeah.
Because that gives you a certain security, but it had 2 strikes, and I went, I can't do that.
One of my obsessions kind of on this show is Annie Baker. Annie Baker plays Annie Baker actors. You're an Annie Baker actor.
I'm so pleased to be called that.
And this is circle, mirror, transformation. I talked to Deirdre O'Connell about this.
Yep.
She talked about how that was very hard, but very fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And talks about a rehearsal at your house.
Oh, my God. That's right.
Remember that?
We had to close down and then start up again. And we just did a little run through at my house, yeah.
Well, tell me the story of this whole thing. I mean, at this time, you didn't know who Annie Baker was, right?
No, I did, because I had done a play called Body Awareness before that.
Yeah, okay.
At the Atlantic Small Theater, Underground, and with Jo Beth Williams.
So she had already known about you, obviously, then.
Yeah, and I think somebody who did the workshop at Sundance couldn't make it, and that's how I got in. I think that's the deal. You'll have to ask Annie.
Yeah.
But wow, what a lucky thing, because that was my first time working with Sam.
Now with Circle, now when you see what this play is, and what has to be done.
Yeah, and I've seen 2 productions, other than ours. I've seen 2 productions, and I can see people walking out going, this one, the what? Because they don't mind the darkness. They just do the exercises and the comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I could get up and down 60 times in a night now.
So it's constant exercises.
It's standing up and lying. Yeah, and then there are these intermittent exercises as we go through the weeks of this class.
Yeah.
And then private conversations where stuff is learned. It's beautifully constructed. You know?
Why do you think Deirdre had a hard time or found it hard?
I too. I mean, they posted the list of scenes backstage on the wall. But I carried a cheat sheet of it in my pocket. My own, say, this is what's happening now. Because there are like 35 scenes, right? Or whatever it is. What's next? This is the one where you, and maybe in the last 2 weeks of the run, I didn't use it.
Wow.
Well, I didn't know what was happening next.
Wow.
Same thing happened with,
Yeah, that's what she was saying, yes.
yeah, it didn't happen, no. I didn't know
know.
what happened next. I needed that sheet after every blackout. What's happening? But the same thing happened in 12 Angry Men. There's something about that, even though there's only one light's on and one light's off, I didn't know what was going to happen on the next page for so long, because you have one line every page. It seemed like burp, burp, and then you have a spurt, and then you're quiet, and you don't know. I didn't know what's going to happen next until maybe the last 2 weeks of the run.
And so the only thing that made you know is your cue line, basically, right? Is that right?
Well, no, but I think, somewhat before that, you go, oh, we're going that way. Okay, guy, I'm with you.
But that also sounds like that would be kind of exciting, because it would keep you present.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It did. It kept me so present for the hour and a half that after I had a big tirade at the end, a big racist tirade, and after I sat down and my chair was facing upstage, I had to fight sleep, because I had paid attention so much that I was gone.
Wow.
Because
you felt like you could relax at that moment after that.
I could. I had like maybe one more thing to do. I had to like pinch myself,
So when that thing kept being extended,
Yeah.
were you like mad? That
Oh no, we were so proud.
Yeah.
We loved that shit.
Yeah.
We loved that thing.
Sam Stillman is a friend of mine. He's a very good actor, director. When he found out that I was trying to get you on this show, he said, I saw him in Hamlet. He was amazing. He was seamlessly funny, human, modern, dangerous, sympathetic, heightened, and natural. It was crazy. That's his quote. Now, all of those things, can you see a thread that leads back to work done on that from all of those adjectives?
No, I'm gratified. I'm not saying I aimed to put those things in there. I just wanted to be somebody who you could recognize.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're all doing at my age. We're trying to, we're Deirdre and all these people. Not that she's my age, but I'm older. But we're trying to get close to a human.
Yeah.
It takes all these years. Though I've seen plenty of 20-year-old actors, on stage, do stuff I could never have dreamt of doing. It's so subtle, so beautiful. But that's my goal. My aim is to get as close to, someday I'll get there.
And we should say you played Polonius, right?
Yep.
You must have seen countless Poloniuses.
Exactly. And I said, I don't want to do that.
Right.
What does that look like?
Good ones, maybe. You were like,
I don't want to be, right. The daughter.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. But it's the only restriction I put on myself, and you should try this at home. Get out the script and do it. The neither a borrower nor a lender be stuff,
Yes.
which Sam cut greatly, and it was helpful. I wanted to make sure, and it slipped out once or twice during the run. I wanted to make sure I never pointed my finger, not once. And you try. It's hard.
Because I just when you said those words of the speech, I'm picturing a person pointing.
Of course. Don't do this. Do it. Never. Not to not do it once.
Yeah.
It's attached to something else. I can't describe it now because I'm sort of far away from it. But it was all. It eventually got to be all of a piece, and I was okay with it. And his love for his son, was
Yeah.
how bereft he'll be when this guy goes. Okay, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just seems like then that director and probably the other actors were your decision or your choice was supported. Right?
Yes, and I it's so wonderful to work with Sam because every time I would suggest something, he'd go, "No, it's this." I go, "Oh yeah, that's right." I would. You always take a suggestion from Sam. He's right. He's always right. And I'm often wrong.
Does that often happen with directors for you, though? Are they helpful?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Today's directors, I find, are wonderful.
You're talking about the stage. You're not talking about.
Yeah. I would ask the directors on the TV thing and the writers, tell me what you want. What is it supposed to be here? I have no ego about that. I want to know what they want to get across, and I want to put it across for them. I just need to understand it.
Yeah.
And they'll tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And then I do it.
Clarity.
Yeah, because I probably am in a fog about this particular moment, so I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
What did you mean?
Because there's no time in TV, right? There's just no time.
That's what gets me.
So you're coming from the stage, you're doing great work on the stage, you're doing rehearsals night after night, and then you get to a TV, there's not even a rehearsal, you're meeting the person playing your wife the day of.
I can't. You're getting me nervous. You're getting me nervous. That's exactly what. If the thing in the guy in 12 Angry Men, I would never be asked to play the tough guy. But with a month or 2 weeks, I think somebody had left and I was brought in late. With 2 weeks to go, I could put it, simmer it. But to do it in a day, that's why I didn't take this film thing I referred to. Some tough guy in a day. I can't do it in a day. I can't get there. I don't know who that is really. That kind of brutish guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
Can you tell me something that you worried the hell about as a young actor that only now do you realize was a senseless worry?
I don't know if it came sooner than now. Thank God.
Yeah.
So I wasn't down with it for 50 years or whatever. As a young actor, you're dying to work, and you're never working. I would have a year and a half with nothing. It was awful. It was awful. And when I worked, I thought it was awful. I thought, this is never. This is not it. This is not it. And somehow, I learned that it was going to be a quarter turn of the screw that did it. That made it. Oh, it's not far away. It's like right over there. But it would be hell. And I was talking to a cousin of mine who said, I talk to you when you're working and I talk to you when you're not working, and both times you're terribly unhappy. You should choose one time to be happy. I thought, it's a good point. I'll do it when I'm working then. And from that point on, I just didn't angst as much. I think I took a little piece of advice.
Wow. Well, you have to talk a little bit more about that turn of the screw, because that's a very interesting thing.
Yes, it's very important. And I think it's probably it with everybody.
So
think you're a million miles away.
You're imagining that the adjustment needed on this is huge.
Huge.
Or you're saying, wow, they made a mistake even casting me.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't realize that just that little turn
Yeah.
of something. But what does that really mean? Could that mean that you're just not hitting the lines right, or is it more of a bigger thing about the approach of the character?
I can't remember what was going on in those instances where I learned that it wasn't a big distance.
Yeah.
I remember one where we were doing Simon Gray's Common Pursuit at Long Wharf for its first production here, and Simon came over in the third week, and it was terrible. Nothing English about it, nothing that he thought for the characters and stuff like that, and I was distraught. So we made a date, he and I, to meet at the Algonquin in the bar there where he was staying, and have splits of champagne on a Tuesday morning or a Monday morning, and with like 4 words he straightened me out.
Wow.
And I wrote them down probably in the script, but I can't remember. It's not it's diffident, blah, 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 blah. I went, okay, I'm good, thanks. He straightened me out right like that, and I had a wonderful time. Right like that.
So what's the lesson there, though? That you can't keep hammering away at the nail when the head is off it. You have to pull some. I'm trying to come up with an analogy here. Or hitting themselves about this, like
Yes.
and beating themselves up about something that is so.
That's why we need directors, and we need to ask authors. I'm all for knowing what the author wants. I very rarely ask for any text changes. I just say, "What do you mean?" I just want to know what you mean. Mm-hmm.
The clarity for you will be the saving. Will get you out of the trouble, because then you can do all the other things.
Well, yeah, if you can attach it to what you've already established and keep the links going.
Yeah.
Starting with Annie's stuff, with the ahs and the ums and everything's important, and I try. I probably don't have more than one perfect text performance in a run, but I try to have every single thing and no additions of my own in there. My job is to make what's on the page, work as well as it does on the page.
Some actors that I've talked to, you'd be shocked to find how they are still not relaxed about getting work.
You bet. You bet.
It's just shocking. These are people who you would think they don't have to worry about anything else in life. But it seems like you have a flow in these last years.
I know. It's the best part of my career, the best part of my life,
right.
Probably. It was all fluke to fluke for the first 40 years. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Very painful.
So the question is, are you still worrying?
I'm not worrying at the moment.
That's got to be great.
It is great. It is. It's a wonderful time, and it all has to do with the nonprofit theater. Frankly, back in right after 12 Angry Men, which I didn't get, which was the first time I had worked, probably in a year and a half. Then it was still happening, and after 12 Angry Men, I thought, I can't make a dime. I'm not, I'm going to go out to California and do that 6-week thing twice a year at pilot season, when there was pilot seasons, and I get nothing. I'd be away from my small daughter for 6 weeks at a time, making her mother, be on duty for that long, who was absolutely gracious about doing it, because I was foundering. I was getting nowhere. And I'd come back having gotten nothing except, maybe an episode of something that might pay for the trip. But it was awful. And my wife now suggested, at that point I was beginning to see her, and she suggested, why don't you do these off-Broadway things that are being offered to you? I think Annie's Body Awareness was one of the first in that slew. And I what can I do? I'll make 300 a week, and I'll just stay here and do it. I won't miss my child's years, and it'll be I'll find something, and it's added up to this. And I met Annie and Sam Gold and David Cromer and Max Poser and Amy Hurst. I was like, Ann Kaufman, Carolyn Cantor. I love these guys.
Yeah.
They have sustained me. Really, for the past 15 years, they have taught me more about what I'm supposed to know than I knew.
That just sounds like you made a choice, which comes up over and over on the show. You made a choice for the work, not for some kind of other choice for your career or some kind of thing, and it paid off to your career.
Yeah, I didn't think it was, but at the moment, it seems to be paying off. And now I miss the nonprofit, not because of the pandemic, but because of the TV commitments. I don't quite know how to fit that stuff in, but I certainly look forward to going back to it. Nice 100-seat, 200-seat theater. And it's okay with me.
Yeah.
Great stuff happens there.
Peter Friedman, thank you so much.
You're welcome. This was fun, thanks.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.